I was days away from finalizing an adoption when the birth mother made a confession that made me no longer want the child. My husband Marcus and I had been trying for 6 years, 3 rounds of IVF, 2 miscarriages that left me empty in ways I still can't describe. When the fertility specialist finally told us our chances were basically zero, we sat in the parking lot and cried for an hour. Adoption felt like our last hope. We connected with a private agency that specialized in matching hopeful parents with birth mothers who wanted open arrangements. Within 3 months, we were matched with a woman named Jessica, who was 7 months pregnant and had chosen us from a stack of family profiles. The first video call went perfectly. Jessica was 26, soft-spoken, with kind eyes that crinkled when she smiled. She said she wasn't ready to be a mother but wanted her baby to have a good life. She'd seen our profile and felt connected to us immediately. We talked for 2 hours about everything: our jobs, our families, our dreams for this child. Over the next few weeks, Jessica and I talked almost daily. She sent ultrasound photos, I sent nursery updates. It felt like we were building something beautiful together. But then I started noticing things. Small things at first. During our calls, Jessica would sometimes pause mid-sentence like she was listening to something. I'd ask if someone was there, and she'd say no. Just the TV, but I never heard any TV in the background. She asked strange questions too. How much savings did we have? Did Marcus travel for work often? What was our home security system like? I told myself she was just being protective about where her baby would live. Then there was the paperwork situation. Our adoption coordinator, Beth, mentioned that Jessica had requested 3 different amendments to the legal documents. Each time, the changes involved financial terms. Medical expense coverage was increased. Post-birth support was extended. A new clause about emergency contact access was added. Beth said it wasn't unusual for birth mothers to negotiate terms, but something about her tone made me uneasy. 2 weeks before the due date, Marcus and I flew out to meet Jessica in person. The plan was to be there for the birth, to hold our daughter in the first moments of her life. We checked into a hotel 20 minutes from the hospital and waited for Jessica to call. She didn't call for 3 days. When she finally reached out, she said she'd been sick, a stomach bug, nothing serious. But when we met her for lunch, she looked perfectly healthy, no signs of illness. She was cheerful, almost too cheerful, talking rapidly about baby names and nursery colors. I noticed she kept checking her phone under the table, quick glances every few minutes, then she'd type something fast with one hand. When I asked who she was texting, she said just her sister. But according to our case file, Jessica didn't have any siblings. The day before the scheduled C-section, Jessica asked to meet me alone. Just the 2 of us. Without Marcus. She said there were things she needed to tell me, woman to woman, before she handed over her baby. We met at a coffee shop near the hospital. Jessica was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with her hands wrapped around a mug she wasn't drinking from. She looked different somehow, older, tired in a way I hadn't noticed before. She started talking about her childhood, how she'd grown up in foster care, how she'd never known stability, how she wanted something different for her baby. I listened, nodding, wondering why she was telling me this now. We'd talked about her background before. Then she asked if I'd ever wondered why she chose us specifically. I said we assumed it was the profile. Our stability, our home, our obvious desire to be parents. Jessica shook her head slowly. That wasn't it, she said. She reached into her purse and pulled out a photograph. It was old, creased from being folded and unfolded many times. She slid it across the table toward me. I picked it up and looked at 2 women standing in front of a house I didn't recognize. One was clearly Jessica, maybe 10 years younger. The other woman looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. Then Jessica said something that made everything stop. She told me to look closer at the other woman, at her eyes, at the shape of her jaw, at the necklace she was wearing. It was the same necklace I was wearing right now, the one my mother had given me before she died. Because the woman in that photograph was my mother, and Jessica said she'd been waiting 18 years to tell me why. The rest of the story is on my channel, or linked below. I stare at the photograph, my fingers trembling against the worn edges. The necklace around my mother's neck is unmistakable, the small silver pendant with 3 intertwined circles that she always said represented past, present, and future. The same one that now hangs against my collarbone, suddenly feeling heavier than it ever has before. What are you saying? My voice comes out barely above a whisper. Jessica leans forward, her eyes, those kind eyes that had once seemed so trustworthy, now intense and searching. Your mother had an affair with my father 18 years ago. It lasted almost a year. The coffee shop noise fades to a distant hum as my mind struggles to process her words. My mother? The woman who taught Sunday school? Who volunteered at homeless shelters? Who lectured me about honesty until I was blue in the face? That's not possible, I say automatically. My mother wouldn't. I found the letters after she died. Jessica cuts in. She kept every single one. Letters she wrote to my father, letters he wrote back, photos, hotel receipts. She kept it all in a box under a loose floorboard in her closet. My stomach lurches. The hidden compartment in my mother's closet. I'd found it when I was cleaning out her house after the funeral, but it had been empty. I'd assumed it was just an old storage space, never used. When my father died 3 years ago, I found your mother's obituary among his things, Jessica continues. That's when I started putting it all together. The letters mentioned a daughter. They had your name, details about your life. I shake my head, trying to make sense of what she's telling me. So you're saying, we're half-sisters, Jessica says, her voice softening. We share the same mother. The world tilts sideways. I grip the edge of the table to steady myself, but that would mean I trail off, the implications hitting me all at once. The baby would be your niece, Jessica finishes. I think about the nursery we've prepared, the tiny clothes folded in drawers, Marcus's face when we got the call that we'd been matched. All of it built on a lie. Why? I managed to ask. Why go through all of this? Why not just tell me who you were from the beginning? Jessica's eyes fill with tears. I tried to find you for years after I discovered the truth, but you'd moved, changed your number. The only information I had was outdated. Then I saw your profile on the adoption website. She pauses, wiping at her eyes. I know it was wrong. I needed to know you, to understand why she chose you and not me. The bitterness in her voice cuts through me. Chose me? She stayed with your family. She visited me in secret, once or twice a year. She'd bring gifts, take pictures, and then disappear again. Jessica's voice hardens. She was my mother too, but she never claimed me publicly, never acknowledged me to anyone. I think about all those business trips my mother took, the weekends away for church conferences that she never talked about afterward. Had she been visiting her secret daughter all those years? I don't believe you, I say. But even as the words leave my mouth, pieces are falling into place. My mother's unexplained absences, the mysterious phone calls she'd take in another room, the way she'd sometimes look at me with this strange, guilty expression. Jessica reaches into her bag again and pulls out a stack of envelopes bound with a faded ribbon. These are some of the letters. Read them if you don't believe me. I can't bring myself to touch them. The handwriting visible on the top envelope is unmistakably my mother's elegant script. This is insane, I whisper, pushing back from the table. My chair scrapes loudly against the floor. People turn to look, but I barely notice. You've been lying to us this entire time, playing us. I wasn't playing you, Jessica insists, reaching for my hand. I yank it away. I really do want you to have this baby. She deserves the life you can give her. But I also needed you to know the truth about who we are to each other. We're nothing to each other, I snap, standing up so quickly my chair nearly topples over. This whole thing was a setup. Jessica rises too, her pregnant belly bumping against the table. Please, just take the letters. Read them. You'll see I'm telling the truth. I back away, shaking my head. Stay away from me. Stay away from Marcus. This adoption is over. I turn and push through the coffee shop door, gulping in the cold air outside. My legs carry me blindly across the parking lot as tears blur my vision. The weight of betrayal sits heavy on my chest. Betrayal from Jessica, from my mother, from the universe that dangled happiness in front of me, only to snatch it away again. I don't know how long I wander before finding myself in the hotel parking lot, leaning against a concrete barrier, sobbing uncontrollably. That's where Marcus finds me, his face creased with worry as he jumps out of our rental car. What happened? He asks, wrapping his arms around me. I collapse against his chest, unable to form words through my tears. How do I tell him that we've lost another child? That my mother had a secret daughter? That everything I thought I knew about my family was built on lies? She's my sister. I finally choke out. Jessica is my half-sister. The baby would be my niece. Marcus goes still, his arms tightening around me. What? How is that possible? My mother had an affair. Jessica is the result. The words taste bitter on my tongue. She's known who I was this whole time. She's been planning this. Marcus guides me to the car, helps me into the passenger seat. As he slides behind the wheel, he takes my hand. We need to call Beth. If what Jessica's saying is true, there are legal implications. You can't adopt a biological relative through a standard adoption process. I nod numbly, staring out the windshield. She had pictures, Marcus. Letters. It's real. He squeezes my hand. We'll figure this out. Together. But as we sit in silence, the reality washes over me in waves. The daughter I thought would be mine is actually my niece. The woman I trusted with our future is my sister. And my mother, the woman I mourned and idealized, had been living a double life for decades. 18 years of secrets. 18 years of lies. And somehow, I'm the one left picking up the pieces. I wake up the next morning with puffy eyes and a headache that pounds against my temples. For a blissful moment, I don't remember why I feel so terrible, then it all crashes back. Jessica. My mother. The affair. The baby, who was supposed to be our daughter but is actually my niece. Marcus is already up, typing furiously on his laptop at the small desk in our hotel room. Did you sleep at all? I ask, my voice hoarse. He glances up, dark circles under his eyes. Not really. I've been researching adoption laws regarding biological relationships and emailing Beth. I sit up slowly, my body feeling like it's aged 20 years overnight. What did she say? She wants to meet us at her local office in 2 hours. He closes his laptop and comes to sit beside me on the bed. How are you holding up? I laugh, but it comes out as more of a sob. How do you think? My dead mother apparently had a secret daughter, and that daughter tried to trick us into adopting her baby. Marcus takes my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. We don't know for sure that Jessica is telling the truth. We need proof. The letters. Could be forged, he says firmly. The photo could be manipulated or have a completely innocent explanation. We need a DNA test. The thought hadn't even occurred to me. I'd been so shocked by Jessica's revelation that I'd immediately accepted it as truth. You're right, I say, feeling a small flicker of hope. We should demand a test. 2 hours later, we're sitting in Beth's temporary office, a small, windowless room at the agency's local branch. She looks as exhausted as we feel. I've reviewed the situation, Beth says, shuffling through a stack of papers. If Jessica is indeed your biological half-sister, then yes, the adoption is legally compromised. Most states have specific procedures for kinship adoption that are entirely different from standard adoptions. We want a DNA test, Marcus says firmly. Before we believe anything Jessica says. Beth nods. I've already arranged for that. Jessica has agreed to meet us at the testing facility this afternoon. She hesitates, looking uncomfortable. She's also requesting another meeting with you. She says there's more you need to know. My stomach drops. More? What else could there possibly be? She wouldn't tell me, Beth admits, but she seemed desperate. I don't want to see Jessica again, but curiosity gnaws at me. What other secrets is she hiding? What else don't I know about my mother? The DNA testing facility is clinical and sterile. Jessica is already there when we arrive, sitting in the waiting room with her hands folded over her pregnant belly. She looks up when we enter, her eyes red-rimmed. Thank you for coming, she says quietly. I don't respond. Marcus places a protective hand on my lower back as we check in at the reception desk. The procedure is simple cheek swabs for both Jessica and me. The technician explains that results will be available in 48 hours, but Jessica interrupts. Can we expedite it? I'm scheduled for a C-section in 3 days. The technician looks between us, sensing the tension. We can have results by tomorrow morning for an additional fee. We'll pay it, Marcus says before I can speak. After the samples are collected, Jessica approaches us in the parking lot. Can we talk, please? There's a cafe across the street. I want to refuse, to walk away and never see her again, but the questions burning inside me won't let me. Fine, I say coldly. The cafe is nearly empty. We sit at a corner table, as far from other customers as possible. Jessica orders herbal tea. I order nothing. I need to show you something, she says, pulling out her phone. She navigates to her banking app and turns the screen toward me. This is an account your mother set up for me when I was 8. She deposited money every month until she died. I stare at the transaction history. Regular deposits, always on the 15th of each month. $500. For years. When she died, Jessica continues, the deposits kept coming. I think she set up some kind of trust. But 3 months ago, they suddenly stopped. What does this have to do with anything? I ask, even as my mind races with implications. I tried to contact the bank, but they wouldn't give me any information since my name isn't on the account. Just the deposits. She takes a deep breath. I think your mother had other accounts, other arrangements I don't know about. When the money stopped, I panicked. So this is about money? I feel disgust rising in my throat. You tracked me down because your monthly allowance got cut off? No. Jessica looks genuinely hurt. I mean, yes, I was worried about the money, but that's not why I contacted you. I really did want to meet you. To know my sister. Half-sister. I correct automatically. If that's even true. Jessica pulls out a small notebook from her purse. Your mother kept journals. This one has entries about me, about you, about her guilt. She slides it across the table. Read it, please. I open the notebook with trembling hands. The handwriting is unmistakably my mother's, the same elegant script that signed my school permission slips and wrote birthday cards. The 15th of April 2005. Visited Jay today. She's growing so fast. She has my eyes, but thankfully looks more like Robert than me. Easier that way. Harder for anyone to make connections. Left money for summer camp. Her foster mother seems kind but overwhelmed. Jay deserves more than I can give her without destroying everything. My breath catches. This doesn't prove anything. Keep reading, Jessica urges. I flip forward several pages. The 3rd of October 2007. Jay asked about her father today. I told her he loved her very much but couldn't be with us. Not a complete lie. Robert did love her, in his way. But his wife would never have allowed him to acknowledge Jay publicly, just like David would never forgive me if he knew. Sometimes I look at my daughter at home and wonder if she would understand having a sister, but the risk is too great. My daughter at home, me, she's talking about me. After your mother died, Jessica says softly, I found a key in her things. It opened a safety deposit box at First National Bank. Inside were documents about a trust fund set up for me, photos of us together, and letters she never sent to my father. Why are you telling me this now? I demand. Closing the journal, Jessica looks down at her hands. The trust was supposed to last until I turned 30, but something happened. The bank sent a letter saying the account was being audited and all disbursements were temporarily suspended. I need to know if there are other accounts, other arrangements she made. The pieces click together in my mind. So you found me through the adoption agency, pretended to want us to adopt your baby, all to get access to whatever financial information I might have about my mother? No, Jessica insists, tears filling her eyes. I really do want you to adopt the baby. I can't raise her, not with my history, not with everything that's happened. But yes, I also hoped you might help me understand what happened to the money. It was all I had left of her. I stand up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. You used us. You used our desperation for a child to manipulate us. That's not true, Jessica says, reaching for my arm. Please, you have to believe me. I jerk away from her touch. I don't have to believe anything you say. We'll get the DNA results tomorrow, and then we'll see what's true. As I turn to leave, Jessica calls after me, her voice breaking. Check your mother's old accounts. There must be records somewhere. She wouldn't just abandon me like this. I walk out without looking back, but her words follow me. Outside, Marcus is waiting by our rental car, his face anxious. She was getting money from my mother, I tell him as we drive back to the hotel. Monthly payments for years, even after Mom died. She thinks I know something about it. Marcus grips the steering wheel tighter. Do you? No, but I'm going to find out. Back at the hotel, I call my mother's former bank. Using her social security number and answering security questions, I gain access to information about her accounts. What I discover makes my blood run cold. There wasn't just one secret account. There were 3, one for Jessica's monthly expenses, one for a trust fund, and a third that had been emptied 3 months ago by someone using my mother's password and security information. Someone who knew everything about my mother's life. Someone who had access to her most personal details. Someone who needed money and knew exactly where to find it. I stare at my laptop screen. The bank records confirming what I'd suspected but didn't want to believe. 3 accounts. 3 separate financial arrangements my mother had set up, one of which had been completely drained just 3 months ago. Jessica emptied one of the accounts. I tell Marcus, my voice hollow. She somehow got access to Mom's passwords and security information. Marcus leans over my shoulder, squinting at the screen. Are you sure it was her? Who else could it be? She knew exactly when the payments stopped because she's the one who took the money. I slam the laptop shut, anger burning through my shock. This whole thing, the adoption, the sudden revelation about being my sister, it's all been about money. Let's not jump to conclusions before we get the DNA results, Marcus says, always the voice of reason. But I can see in his eyes he believes it too. I don't sleep that night. Instead, I dig deeper, calling my mother's former attorney, searching through the box of documents I'd kept after cleaning out her house. By morning, I've pieced together enough to confront Jessica. We meet at a small diner near the DNA testing facility where we're supposed to get our results. Jessica is already there, nursing a cup of tea, her pregnant belly making it difficult to fit comfortably in the booth. She smiles when she sees me, but her expression falters when she notices Marcus following close behind. I thought we could talk alone, she says softly. That's not happening anymore, I reply, sliding a folder onto the table between us. I found some interesting information last night. Jessica's eyes flick to the folder, but she doesn't touch it. What is it? Bank statements, account records, a copy of my mother's will. I open the folder and spread the documents out. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Her face pales slightly. Find out what? That you emptied the 3rd account. The emergency fund my mother set up. $68,000, Jessica. You took all of it 3 months ago. Jessica's hands begin to tremble around her teacup. I don't know what you're talking about. Stop lying. I slam my palm on the table, causing heads to turn in our direction. Marcus places a calming hand on my arm, but I shake it off. You've been lying since the moment we met you. You're not sick, you don't have a sister, and I'm willing to bet you never intended for us to adopt your baby. Tears fill Jessica's eyes. That's not true. I do want you to adopt her. Then explain the money, Marcus says, his voice steady but firm. Explain why you drained an account set up by her mother, then tracked her down through an adoption agency. Jessica looks cornered, her eyes darting between us and the door. Finally, her shoulders slump. Fine. Yes, I took the money. I needed it. For what? I demand. For her, Jessica says, placing both hands on her belly. For us. The payments stopped coming, and I panicked. I found information about the other accounts in your mother's things. I figured out her passwords. She always used the same ones. Your birthday, her anniversary date. So you stole from her. From me. It wasn't stealing, Jessica insists. That money was meant for me. Your mother promised she'd always take care of me. And what about the adoption? Was that just a way to secure more financial support? Jessica looks down at her hands. I did want you to adopt her at first, but then I found out who you were, and I thought maybe you'd help me, that you'd understand once you knew the truth. The truth, I repeat bitterly. You mean the story about being my half-sister? Is that even real? Or was that a lie too? It's real, Jessica whispers. The DNA test will prove it. As if on cue, my phone buzzes with an email notification. The results are in, a day earlier than expected. I open the attachment with trembling fingers, Marcus reading over my shoulder. 99.8% probability of half-sibling relationship. I read aloud, my stomach dropping. So, that part was true. Jessica nods, wiping tears from her cheeks. I told you. Your mother had an affair with my father. She visited me in foster care for years. She set up those accounts to support me because she felt guilty for not being in my life properly. I take a deep breath, trying to process this confirmation that my mother, the woman who taught me about honesty and integrity, had lived a double life for decades. That still doesn't explain why you lied about wanting us to adopt your baby. Jessica hesitates, chewing her bottom lip. I did want that. At first. But then, things changed. What things? Marcus asks. The baby's father, she admits quietly. He's not dead like I told your adoption agency. What? I feel like I've been slapped. We broke up 6 months ago. He didn't want the baby. Said he wasn't ready to be a father. Jessica's voice hardens. But then I told him about the adoption, about how much money was involved, and suddenly he was interested again. So the father is alive and knows about the baby? Marcus clarifies, his lawyer instincts kicking in. Jessica nods miserably. His name is Ryan. He's my ex-boyfriend. When I told him about you guys, about how much you were willing to pay for the adoption expenses, he started talking about how we could get more, how we could leverage the situation. My blood runs cold. Blackmail? Not exactly, Jessica says, though she can't meet my eyes. He just thought that since we're family, you might want to help us get set up. A bigger apartment, maybe some support for a few years while I finish school. And if we didn't agree? Marcus asks. Jessica's silence is answer enough. You were going to threaten to keep the baby, I realize, disgust rising in my throat. Use our desperation against us. It wasn't my idea, Jessica insists. Ryan convinced me it made sense. That you owed me after what your mother did. I stand up, unable to sit across from her for another second. I need some air. Outside, I gulp in deep breaths, trying to calm the rage and disappointment churning inside me. Marcus follows, placing his hands on my shoulders. We need to contact Ryan, he says. If he's the biological father and wasn't informed about the adoption, that's a legal issue. I nod, leaning into his steady presence. This is such a mess. When we return to the table, Jessica is on her phone, texting frantically. She jumps when we sit down, quickly putting her phone away. I want Ryan's contact information, I say firmly. Now. Jessica shakes her head. He doesn't want to talk to you. I don't care what he wants, I snap. Either you give us his information, or we walk away from this entire situation and contact the authorities about the stolen money. Her eyes widen with panic. You wouldn't. Try me. After a tense standoff, Jessica reluctantly gives us Ryan's number. Marcus steps away to make the call while I keep an eye on Jessica, who looks increasingly nervous. He's coming here, Marcus says when he returns. Apparently, he was waiting nearby. Jessica pales. You shouldn't have done that. Why? Because it ruins your plan? I ask coldly. 20 minutes later, a lanky man with dark hair and a scruffy beard walks into the diner, scanning the room until his eyes land on our table. Jessica shrinks in her seat as he approaches. So you're the rich couple, he says by way of greeting, sliding into the booth next to Jessica. Nice to finally meet you. Ryan, Marcus says, his voice professionally detached. We understand you're the biological father of Jessica's baby. That's right. Ryan drapes his arm possessively around Jessica's shoulders. And I've recently had a change of heart about my parental rights. A change of heart, I repeat flatly. Or a change in financial opportunities? Ryan's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Let's just say I've realized how important family is. Did you know Jessica has been claiming you were dead? Marcus asks. Ryan's eyebrows shoot up. Dead? That's a new one, babe. He turns to Jessica, who looks like she wants to disappear. Creative. We're no longer interested in proceeding with the adoption, I say firmly, gathering the documents from the table. Not under these circumstances. Wait, Jessica says, panic edging into her voice. You can't just walk away. What about the baby? What about her? I ask. You clearly have her father right here, alive and well, and you've stolen enough money from my mother's accounts to support yourselves for quite a while. That money's gone, Ryan says, his casual tone slipping. Medical bills, debts, living expenses. We need more. That's not our problem, Marcus states. Ryan leans forward, lowering his voice. Listen, we know you want this baby, and we're prepared to disappear completely after she's born for the right price. The naked greed in his eyes makes my skin crawl. Are you seriously trying to sell your child? I'm offering you what you want, Ryan counters. A clean break, no complications. Jessica signs away her rights. I sign away mine. You get the baby. Everybody wins. Except that's illegal, Marcus points out. And we have this entire conversation documented. Ryan's expression darkens. Then I guess we'll just have to keep our daughter. Raise her ourselves. Maybe move somewhere far away where you'll never find her. He looks directly at me. Your niece, right? Would you really want to never know her? The threat hangs in the air between us. Jessica looks torn, her hands protectively covering her belly. If you try to disappear with that baby, I say, my voice deadly calm, I will find you. And I will make sure everyone knows exactly what you did, the theft, the fraud, the attempted extortion. Is that really what you want? Jessica starts crying softly. I just wanted to be part of a family, to have what you had with her. By lying? By stealing? I shake my head in disbelief. That's not how family works. Ryan stands abruptly, pulling Jessica up with him. We're done here. Come on, Jess. Wait, Marcus says, his lawyer voice in full effect. You should know that we've already contacted the adoption agency about the situation. They're aware of the potential legal issues, including the fact that you, Ryan, never consented to this adoption because you were supposedly deceased. Ryan's jaw tightens. So what? So if you leave now and try to disappear, there will be an investigation. Is that really what you want? Especially with Jessica 7 months pregnant? Jessica tugs on Ryan's arm. Please, let's just talk to them. Figure something out. For a moment, I see genuine fear in her eyes, not just of us, but of Ryan. Something about her body language, the way she seems to make herself smaller next to him, triggers a memory of my mother's journal. Her foster mother seems kind but overwhelmed. Jay deserves more than I can give her. I wonder suddenly if Jessica's desperation isn't just about money, but about escaping something or someone. We need to go, Ryan insists, pulling Jessica toward the door. Jessica, I call after her. If you need help, real help, call me. She looks back, her eyes filled with tears, and something else, a silent plea, that chills me to the bone. Then Ryan yanks her through the door, and they're gone. We need to call Beth, Marcus says immediately. And probably the police. I nod, still staring at the door. Do you think she's safe with him? Marcus squeezes my hand. I don't know, but we're going to make sure that baby is. I call Beth as soon as we get back to the hotel, my hands still shaking with anger and worry after watching Ryan drag Jessica away. Her voice is tense when she picks up, like she already knows something's wrong. We need to talk about Jessica and Ryan, I say, putting the phone on speaker so Marcus can hear. The situation is worse than we thought. Beth sighs heavily. I was afraid of that. What happened? Marcus leans toward the phone. Jessica admitted to stealing money from a trust fund set up by my wife's mother, and Ryan is attempting to extort us for more money in exchange for the baby. That's illegal, Beth says immediately. We need to report this. There's more, I add. The DNA results came back. Jessica really is my half-sister. The silence on the other end stretches for several seconds. I've never encountered anything like this in 15 years of adoption work, Beth finally says. I'm contacting our legal team right now. Can you come to the office in an hour? We agree and hang up. Marcus wraps his arms around me as I collapse against his chest, finally letting the tears flow freely. I keep thinking about her face when he pulled her out of there. I whisper, She looked scared of him, Marcus. I noticed that too, he says, stroking my hair. We'll make sure she's safe, I promise. An hour later, we're sitting in Beth's office with her supervisor and the agency's attorney. I recount everything: the stolen money, Jessica's confession about being my half-sister, Ryan's thinly veiled extortion attempt. We need to contact the authorities, the attorney says, making notes. This crosses several legal boundaries. What about Jessica? I ask. I'm worried about her safety with Ryan. Beth exchanges glances with her supervisor. We can request a wellness check, but without concrete evidence of abuse, there's not much more we can do. And the baby? Marcus asks. Given the biological relationship between your wife and Jessica, standard adoption wouldn't be appropriate anyway, the attorney explains. But with the extortion attempt and financial fraud, we're looking at a much more complicated situation. We spend the next 2 hours filing reports with the police about the stolen money and extortion attempt, with the adoption agency about the misrepresentations, with Child Protective Services about our concerns for the unborn baby's welfare. By the time we leave, I'm emotionally drained but feel like we've at least taken steps to protect everyone involved. 3 days pass with no word from Jessica. Beth calls each morning with updates, but there's little progress. The police are investigating the financial fraud, but these things take time. Child Protective Services has made contact with Jessica but reports that she appears to be in good health and denies any coercion. On the 4th day, my phone rings at 3:17 a.m. I fumble for it in the dark, heart racing when I see Jessica's name on the screen. Hello? I answer, immediately alert. I need help, Jessica whispers, her voice tight with pain. The baby's coming. I'm at Memorial Hospital. I shake Marcus awake as she continues. Ryan took my phone. I'm using a nurse's. Please come. I don't want him here when she's born. We're on our way, I promise, already pulling on clothes. Hang on, Jessica. The hospital is eerily quiet when we arrive 20 minutes later. A tired-looking nurse directs us to the maternity ward, where we find Jessica alone in a delivery room, her face contorted with pain as a contraction hits. You came, she gasps when she sees us, reaching out a trembling hand. I take it without hesitation. Where's Ryan? He went to get cigarettes when the contractions were still far apart, she explains between labored breaths. I told him it would be hours. Then everything started happening so fast. A doctor enters, checking Jessica's progress. We're getting close, she announces. Where's the father? Not here, Jessica says firmly. And I don't want him called. The doctor glances at us questioningly. I'm her sister, I explain, the words feeling strange but true. The next hour passes in a blur of activity. Jessica's labor progresses rapidly, and despite everything that's happened between us, I find myself holding her hand, coaching her through contractions, wiping sweat from her forehead. Marcus steps outside to update Beth and the authorities about the situation. At 5:43 a.m., Jessica's daughter enters the world with a powerful cry that echoes through the delivery room. The doctor places the tiny, red-faced infant on Jessica's chest, and I watch as Jessica stares down at her with a mixture of awe and heartbreak. She's perfect, Jessica whispers, tears streaming down her face. I nod, my own vision blurring. This tiny person, my niece, has no idea about the complicated circumstances surrounding her birth. She deserves better than to be a pawn in Ryan's schemes or collateral damage in Jessica's desperate attempts to secure financial stability. Marcus returns just as a commotion erupts in the hallway. Ryan's voice carries through the door, angry and demanding. That's my baby in there. You can't keep me out. A security guard responds firmly but calmly. Sir, you need to lower your voice. This is a hospital. Jessica's grip on my hand tightens. Don't let him take her, she pleads. He only wants her for the money. He doesn't care about her. The door bursts open, and Ryan stands there, disheveled and furious. His eyes narrow when he sees me. What the hell are they doing here? He demands. Before anyone can respond, 2 police officers appear behind him. Ryan Dawson? One asks. We need to speak with you regarding allegations of attempted extortion and financial fraud. Ryan's face pales. This is ridiculous. My girlfriend just had a baby. You can't do this now. Actually, sir, this is the perfect time, the second officer says. As they lead Ryan away, a woman in a suit enters the room, introducing herself as Diane from Child Protective Services. I'm here regarding the welfare concerns filed about this child, she explains gently. Jessica clutches the baby closer. You can't take her. No one's taking anyone right now, Diane assures her. But given the circumstances, we need to ensure this child's safety and well-being. Over the next several hours, the situation unfolds like a carefully orchestrated dance. Social workers interview Jessica. Police return to question her about Ryan and the financial fraud. Hospital staff monitor the baby. Marcus and I wait, caught in a strange limbo between being family and being strangers. By afternoon, a judge has issued an emergency order placing the baby in temporary protective custody while the situation is sorted out. Jessica sobs as nurses take the infant to the nursery, but she's too exhausted to fight. I never meant for any of this to happen, she tells me when we're finally alone. I just wanted what you had: a family, security, someone who cared about me. I understand that, I say, surprising myself with how much I mean it. But you went about it all wrong, Jessica. I know. She wipes her eyes. Do you think they'll let me see her again? I don't know, I answer honestly. That depends on a lot of things. 2 weeks later, we're sitting in a courtroom as a family court judge reviews the case. Ryan has been charged with attempted extortion and is being held on bail he can't afford. Jessica has agreed to cooperate with authorities in exchange for supervised visitation rights with her daughter, who remains in foster care. The judge looks at me directly. Given your biological relationship to the child, would you and your husband consider applying for kinship care? Marcus squeezes my hand as I take a deep breath. Your Honor, we've given this a lot of thought. While we care deeply about my niece's welfare, we believe the trauma and deception surrounding this situation would make it difficult for us to be the best caregivers for her right now. Instead, we've decided on a different path. We've begun volunteering with a mentorship program for teens aging out of foster care, kids like Jessica once was, who need guidance and support as they navigate adulthood without family backing. It's not the family we imagined building, but it feels right. Sometimes healing comes not from getting what you wanted, but from finding purpose in what you've experienced. As for my niece, she's being well cared for while the courts determine her future. Jessica attends parenting classes and therapy, working towards supervised custody. I visit the baby once a week, bringing tiny outfits and reading her stories while she stares up at me with curious eyes that remind me of my mother's. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive Jessica. I tell Marcus one night as we lie in bed, but I understand her better now. She was just trying to find her place in the world, like we all are. He pulls me closer. You know, there are still other paths to parenthood for us. When you're ready. I nod against his chest. I know. But for now, I think I need to focus on being a good aunt and mentor. On healing. Sometimes family isn't what you expected. Sometimes it's complicated and messy and painful. But sometimes, if you're lucky, it's also an opportunity to break cycles of hurt and create something new, something better than what came before.